Grandma Lois is here again today. So, I want to share with you a scripture, which is right here, Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And you know, when we're walking around at the Walmart and somebody sees us and said, "Oh, so you're Sister Baird." And that was what I was for 14 years and many more other years. After Buddy got saved and started singing gospel music, I turned into Sister Baird and he was Brother Baird. And people even today run into me and say, "Aren't you Sister Baird? How are you doing?" Oh, and they'd say, "Could you pray for me?" Well, of course I can, wherever I am. So we do it wherever we're at. I just say, let's pray right now. This morning, my granddaughter, Melissa, I love that girl. And she's about 40 years old now. And she shared with me that she is tired of driving trucks. Well, I used to be a dog groomer. And I did well at it for many years. And I raised dogs. I have had quite a history. I had a nursery school for years. I did wedding photography. And then I decided, well, what happened was I bought a little poodle. Now, I knew nothing about toy poodles, but I found out when it was a puppy, when it got about 8 months old, you have to groom them because their hair turns into a mat and it's got to be cut. I tell you what, get your coffee, get your tea, come sit down with me. Did that rhyme? I'm getting my coffee. We went to Walmart this morning. James had to go to Home Depot, and he's got a closing today on a house he's selling, so he's a happy man to get that over with. But when I saw this scene of having tea, and I thought, y'all get your tea, your coffee, your hot chocolate. Don't you like this? I think I'll take a picture of this and put this as my portrait on YouTube. But now my Melissa, back to her. She come to see me the other day and said she was going to go she's tired of truck driving. She says, "Mom, they're not paying nothing, Mama." And her mom, she talks to her too. And we was talking about it, me and Kim, her mother. Kimberly, baby daughter, is her mother. The bossy one. She's as bossy as I am. So Melissa came to see me and she says, "I'm going into house cleaning." And she says, "I've already got 2 houses to clean." I said, "Well, that's wonderful. That is really great." So, I wonder what that light is up there. I don't know what that is. So I said, "Good for you." I said, "You know, what a good thought." So she said, "And I've got 2 lined up." Well, today she called me. She said, "Grandma, that was one of the hardest things. I tell you." I said, "Now, dog grooming is really bad, Melissa, because you did help Kim groom dogs back when Kim was a groomer. But I bought this poodle, and I found out they had to be groomed. So I called up a groomer, more than one, here in New Albany, and they said that'll be $12, $15 to cut hair on a dog. $15 when it's just a little 8-pound dog. I said, "You know, I don't believe I'll do that." So I went to Sears and Roebuck, or they had a good Sears and Roebuck then, and I bought me a pair of clippers, Goody Gumdrop. I'm going to have this made. I'm going to cut this dog's hair myself. Surprise, surprise. Did you know human hair clippers will not cut a dog's hair? You know it now, and I found it out the hard way. You can cut a human's hair with that, but it don't do a dog's hair. So I decided to do some research, so I went to the library about dog grooming, and they had some books on it. And you couldn't check them out. They were like when you study. And also, I went to the pet store and looked at books. They said, those dogs have to be groomed about every 3 months and sometimes sooner than that, depending on how their hair grows. And I said, I'm not going to pay no $15 to get this little old dog groomed. I'll cut it with the scissors before I do that. But it said in this book I got, you need a good pair of clippers. So I said, where in the world do you get them? Well, you can order them, or you can go to a supply house that sells things for, at the pet store, for pets, feed and everything. They sell clippers. So I priced them. And the cheapest one was $125. So I saved my money up, and I bought me a pair of clippers. And then I found out, and Melissa said this morning, Grandma, have you got a few extra blades I can have? I still have my blades and my shears. But Kimberly, who was my baby daughter, the bossy one, she retired from grooming a long time ago. So she's got a table, and she's got shears, and she's got everything. And she told Melissa she could have it all. Just come and get it. You're in the dog grooming business. Here in Indiana, you don't need a license or anything to groom dogs. You can just run your ad. So I found out that you got to buy clippers that fit on those shears, which run about $20 to $27 a piece. And you need different sizes. You need one to cut the hair so long, another one that'll shave it closer, one that will leave it a little longer. And you need a good pair of scissors, maybe two, one with curved blades. I learned so much by just researching. So I saved my money, and there was a good pet supply house up in Clarksville by the Green Tree Mall. And that's where I bought my scissors and a lot of stuff. But I had a folding table that we had used on the evangelistic field, and I set it up, and I started grooming on that. Let me tell you how I started grooming. But first, let me know what else. Let me tell you what else you got to have. You got to have a good dryer, a hair dryer, because you have to cut the dogs down, and then you give them a bath, flea dip them if they have fleas, and you don't want them to have fleas. So, and that costs extra. I flea dipped free because that stuff don't cost much. That was one of my things that I could get people. And you have to get you some cards made up. Honey, I didn't know it was so complicated, but I just hung in there. And so when I was ready, I said, instead of me grooming my dog, I'm going to learn I'm going to run an ad. And I ran an ad in the Tribune paper, our local paper, $10. I was undercutting $2 everybody. Shave your dog down, $10. And that's what most of them want. They don't want a fancy cut a lot of times. They just want that hair gone because it turns into a mat. After I got better at it, if people would let them go a long time and you would have to take it off, it would come off like a sheet, like one piece. I have done that before. That's very difficult. And then I learned how to do schnauzers, and I got me a book that showed all the patterns and how to put a top knot. And then I met another groomer who was a man. Karen Cathy babysit for him and his wife, and he showed me how to do a top knot, to make that little thing on top, and how to do the tail, and how to put the pom-poms on the feet. And finally I got so good I could just make those little old poodles look like a picture. They were so beautiful. And I had cards made up. You got to have cards made up so you can pass them out. We still have Harvest Homecoming every year. So the years that I was dog grooming, I would go down to the Harvest Homecoming, and people brought their dogs, and they'd have their poodles. I'd pass my cards out. And then I learned how, in the banks and different places around years ago, you could put your little ads on this board, and they could just tear off the number of you'd have a big piece of paper. I do grooming. I charge this much. If you're interested, you could tear the number off and call them. And I got a lot of grooming that way. They don't do that anymore, but they used to do that. So I got a lot of grooming that way. So now Melissa has decided to do that. I said, Melissa, you know that's hard. But this table that I had that folded out was wonderful. And then I got me a stool I could sit on so I could sit. And you know what? Why I learned so much about the Lord was because while I was grooming, I would turn my radio on and listening to Through the Bible and different radio programs that were on. And I just learned so much about the Lord. It was amazing. And that came in handy when we went on the evangelistic field, I tell you. Of course, I had always read the Bible stories when I was a young girl. You know, Mom always had Bible story books around. So I always, I don't know what that is. It looks like the moon is shining on us. I don't know. I feel blessed this morning. Caught my coffee. Hey, take a sip. Don't you like my bow? I've got a box of them, all colors. And this scarf, all colors. The other day at the yard sales, I made out. I mean, these were $1/4 a piece, and I really like them. I was kind of getting tired of flowers. Do bows. When you're 91, you can pretty well do whatever you want to. Oh, I want to show something. I found these glasses James had bought me, and I put them on. Now, you know, chit-chat with Granny Pat. Bless her heart, I just love her. We're good friends. She wears beautiful glasses all the time, and I thought these were cute. This is the upsweep that was good when me and Grandma was younger girls in the 50s and 60s. So, this is not Granny Pat, but she looks cute in hers, and I like mine. So I'll just wear these a little while. Oh, and I got her book out. I'm reading more of her book. I tell you what, this is a good book. That she says, hold on, Lord. Hold it, Lord, hold it. I'm not finished yet. Well, we're not finished yet, are we, Pat? So me and chit-chat with Granny Pat, we are not done. And my Kentucky life with Debbie, she's just getting started. So I wish her well, and she's doing good. But I'm going to see, where am I at? Now, Tom bought me these. I can turn down the corner wherever I'm at and just keep on reading. I'm enjoying this book. You can get this at Amazon. Now, she don't advertise her books much. Well, chit-chat with Granny Pat, I can do it. And I'm doing it, girl, because these are good. She's got 3 out. Now, Tom sent me 2, and the first one, and it was so good that I went ahead and bought the cookbook. And there's some recipes in it really good, but I like this one and the other one the best. Thank you for writing them, Pat. You are so good at that. I am not good at facts and figures and all that kind of stuff. I could never write a book, but I can talk. And I was looking at Granny Pat this morning, and she talked 1 hour and 4 minutes. I believe that's the longest I ever saw her talk. I'm not sure. I didn't watch it all, honey. But I can catch it later, because you know what you can do? You can pause it, and you can do that with mine. If you get bored, pause it and check it out later. I'm going to get over here, more in the middle, closer to the teapot. Hang on. I'm moving my chair. My feet are in treatment. They're vibrating with my rebuilder right now, and that's good. Here. There. I like all these pictures I put behind me. They are just lovely. I wanted to have something different behind me all the time, and now I can do it just right on YouTube. And here we're having tea, coffee, Dr. Pepper. That's what Granny Pat drinks. Dr. Pepper's good, but I'm not hooked on soft drinks. I'm on coffee and tea. I like sweet tea. And so I drink coffee and sweet tea and milk. Now, I cannot do without milk. If my milk gets low, I have to go get another gallon. And I don't put them in jars, but Kentucky Life with Debbie says she puts hers in jars, and she can't do without milk either. So her baby daughter now she's 17, I think, they adopted a girl, and she calls her my girl. And her girl bought her a gallon of milk for Mother's Day because they don't live near town. She knows how her mother likes milk. So anyhow, when I was married to number 2 husband, and I said, you know, Floyd, his name was Floyd, I'm about out of milk. I got to stop by Aldi's or Walmart and get me a gallon of milk. And I drink whole milk. And he'd say, what are you, a baby that you have to have milk all the time? I may not be a baby, but I have to have milk all the time. I just don't want, I drink it for lunch and supper every day, still, whole milk. And my brothers, I have a couple of brothers that drink a gallon or 2 of milk a week also. I drink about a gallon a week. I don't know. I don't worry about it. James gives me a lot of grocery money, so I've been enjoying it. And yesterday I made a rack of ribs. He said, this is so good. And I used my Ninja Voodoo that is on recall. The lid is on recall, but it's not dangerous if you just make sure all the pressure is out of it before you try to move it. But some of them, they say, why they recalled it is because if you didn't let it all out and tried to remove it, some of them would let you do that. Well, I never tried to do that because that's not smart. But all of us in this world are not real smart sometimes. I mean, and you get in a hurry or something. I like these scarves that flip, and these were $1 a piece. You know, these scarves really cost money if you try to buy them off YouTube. More than that. I mean, these long ones that I like to flip around. Okay, where was I? Well, anyway, yesterday I was giving y'all a little history of my life, and I got married young at 16, and so when we got married, I'm going to tell you a little more, being I have time this morning. It's early for me. I'm going to tell you how when we got married, me and Buddy, and we was living in New Albany, and he got out of work and couldn't find a job. He joined the Navy. He said, because I can send you my money, and you can make it, and you can pay the rent. And I got me a job, and he was gone to San Diego, California. That's where they sent him for boot camp. And I've told this quite a few times, but I got 250 some new subscribers in the last few days, which is, I mean, I am in awe. I can't figure it out. Somebody must have shouted me out that I don't know about. Probably that cold did that again or something. I don't know, but I say it's the Lord. That's who takes the credit. But anyway, I couldn't keep him in the Navy hardly, because after he was out there about 3 or 4 weeks, him and another guy hitchhiked all the way from California. They went over the fence. They're going to kick you out of the Navy if you do that. So he was home a good while, and finally we was moved in with my aunt and uncle, and my uncle said, look, if you don't turn yourself in, I'm going to turn you in. So he went back, and then the next thing you know, he was home again 2 times. The second time when he came home, I was staying with his sister in an upstairs apartment, and this is the truth. I heard steps coming up the stairway, and I said to Josephine, his sister, I said, does that sound like Buddy coming up the steps? Could that be possible? That's him? And I opened the door, and guess what? He had went AWOL again, over the fence again. That is the truth. He went AWOL 2 times. Well, this 3rd time, he turned himself in. I said, he stayed a week or 2, and so he decided to turn himself in. So he went and turned himself in, and they put him on a train with a card to go to Great Lakes. And I'm not going to make this story real long, but they sent him to Great Lakes, and they had a meeting to decide what to do with him. They gave him a psychological test. You know, like the ink blot test. They gave him that. They interviewed him up one side and down the other. He told me about this later. And he said, you know what? They just decided, well, he could write me and tell me what. He wrote me a letter, and he said, well, what they gave me is 6 months brig time, jail time, here in Great Lakes. So I'm going to be in jail for 6 months. Well, when I got that letter, I was terrible, you know, and I was working at the Bobolink restaurant, doing pretty good, living with a girlfriend, and had a nice little apartment, me and her, and we worked second shift in this restaurant, and I was doing good, but I thought, he's not going to stay. He'll run again. I'm going to have to go stay with him. That was my thinking. So I caught me a bus for Great Lakes on New Year's Eve night, and I ended up through much traveling, and I've told, y'all didn't watch it, but when I pulled into Chicago on the bus, I just took one suitcase. I took a cute little hat, shoes about this high. I never did wear high heels. And when I got off the bus, there was this nice gentleman and his lovely wife saying, "Oh, you just got here? Have you got anybody meeting you?" And I said, "No." "Well, do you need a place to stay?" And of course, I had read a book on white slavery that my dad had bought at an auction. He bought it back, and I knew who they were. I knew that they wanted to trap me. And I said, "I'm fine, thank you. I don't need you." And they said, "But we'll take care of you and help you find a job, and you can make it here in Chicago." I said, "I'm not headed here. I'm headed to Great Lakes." But I knew they were white slavers. So I went over to, they had a thing that travelers help, and I went over and talked to them, and they said, "Here's a chit," and they put me in the young women's Christian place and on the 17th floor. And I stayed there the night, and the next day I went on to Great Lakes. And when I got to Great Lakes, I went straight to headquarters. And I ended up getting a job working in the bakery, not bakery, he worked in bakeries for years, in the laundry, right on the base, working in the laundry. They gave me a job, folding clothes. And what was so strange about it, Buddy was in the brig, and the brig, you could see the brig, the jailhouse, right out the window where I was working, which was a big bay where a truck could get up, and we folded the clothes for all the officers in the Navy. And that's what I was doing, folding clothes. I knew how to fold shorts, t-shirts, pants, hang them on hangers, whatever. It was at the laundry. So I could, Buddy was there in that jail. And don't you know, I could see him out there with guards over him picking up trash. And they had their guns. So, and another thing, I got a little apartment with an Italian lady that barely spoke English. It was one room upstairs. Talk about hot in the summertime. It was terrible. But they let Buddy come spend the weekend. They would give him leave, and he could, and talk about sleeping on a bed that's a twin-size bed, and he was pretty good sized. It was tough. So I would sneak off downstairs and sleep on the porch where she had a sofa, and she found me. She said, "You no more sleep on my porch." Well, I did it every chance I got, whether Buddy was there or not, and that's how I could get a little sleep. I didn't have a refrigerator, no stove. I learned to live on canned tuna, canned chicken, bread, mayonnaise, mustard, and warm milk. And I'd buy a quart of milk at a time, and I would drink it warm because I had to have my milk. Well, I don't think I'm going 104 minutes today, but my feet are done. I have finished it. That runs 30 minutes. Well, no, it's not quite. Let me see. Oh, well, whatever. I think I've finished. But I just recapped a little bit more of my history for all these new people that have joined us. And I thank you for joining. What's going to happen next? But like I was telling about Granny Pat going so long, and I do too sometimes, and some of the other ones do. You can watch till you get bored with it, and then when you get in the mood again, you can finish it up. And that helps her money. Now, I really don't do this for money because, you know, I get my Social Security and I got James. I'm blessed. I am not a woman alone, and neither is some of these others, you know. That one lady that I watch, she was I think she said being happy at 60. I watch her too. Sandra Brown, I watch her. She got her a husband off the internet and tells all about it. So some of you widow ladies, you know, I tried that too. I didn't want a husband, but I wanted somebody to go out and eat with and just to have some male companionship. And I met one, and he disappeared and for a while, and he was going to take me down to the Overlook, which is a famous restaurant, and I was looking forward to it. And then I never heard from him anymore till about a month later. And then he called me up and he said, well, I had to have a pacemaker put in, so I've been out of the, I'm well now. So you still want to go out? I said, well, maybe. He said, well, I tell you what, we could go watch my grandson play soccer. And I said to myself, I had rather watch paint dry than to look at a soccer game. I don't even know anything about soccer, period. So I said, no, thank you. I believe I've changed my mind, but I tell you what, if you still want to go out, I have a couple of girlfriends and their phone numbers. And I gave them to him, the phone numbers for Beulah May and Anna Marie. And I think he took Beulah May. Both of those friends of mine are gone on to heaven. I think he took Beulah May out to eat somewhere. I don't know, but she didn't hit it off with him either. But he was a good-looking man, and he drove a new Cadillac. He was well-to-do, but his pacemaker slowed him down a whole lot, I guess. Now I'm slow. But like I said, finish watching, and it helps these people that are monetized. I am monetized, and I get about 180 every so often, and I take James out to eat with it some, and of course, it's a blessing. I'm enjoying. The Bible says that laborers are worthy of their hire, but this is not a labor. This is a joy to share the goodness of the Lord and how he loves you and how he blesses us and how he watches out for us and how we have guardian angels and how we can talk to Jesus and Heavenly Father wherever we're at, because he is he told one of his disciples, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father except through me. I was talking to a girl at the Walmart yesterday. She said, well, I go door to door and tell people about Jesus, but she didn't want to be on YouTube. And I thought, that's strange. Most everybody that knows Jesus is glad to say something. And I said, you go door to door? She said, yes, I do. I share the word door to door. And I said, well, are you a certain religion? And she said, no, I'm not that. And I don't know what she is, but I don't know. I know most of them that do, because the church I'm going to, James and I go to, is trying to reach all of Clarksville, Indiana. All the houses, they go every other Saturday and knock on doors, invite people to church, and they ask them, how can I pray for you? And a lot of them are getting prayed for, and a lot of them are coming to church. A lot of people do not go to church nowadays, so they need the Lord. And I tell them, and you can get acquainted with Jesus wherever you're at. He hears you, so you can pray wherever you're at. The pioneers back in the old days, some of them knew the Lord before they went. But I tell you what, when they run into hard times, they learned about the Lord pretty quick, because most all of them knew about the Bible and knew the Lord, and they sure did some praying. And that's what I do when I get in a problem. I say, oh, dear Lord, help me through this. And this morning, when I got here, I fixed some the Ninja Foodie, and I had to take and clean it up. Well, don't you know, I dropped it. And it had some, like you have to put water in it to cook it in the bottom. I dropped it. It didn't, the water didn't go everywhere, but they went on the floor. So I said, well, Lord, help me clean this up. So I just cleaned it up and mopped the floor, and it wasn't that much. And took the throw rug throwed it in the washer. And I tell you what, Satan is after us to discourage us, especially as we get older and we have little accidents like that. We drop stuff, we get fumble-fingered, arthritis, and one thing and another. And I do it, but the turmeric, look what happened to me before I got turmeric. See that? But you know what? I can do everything. I was grooming even after this happened. This happened to my fingers when I was in my 60s. And I didn't find out about turmeric till about 3 or 4 years ago. And when I started taking it, now I can get up and down. I don't need lift chairs. And I buy it from Amazon. Kentucky Life with Debby told yesterday about the vitamins she takes and stuff. And that's good. When I met James, before we got married, I said, "Do you take vitamins?" He said, "No, I don't fool with vitamins." His wife did not take care of him on that kind of, I always took care of my husband's, and so he didn't take vitamins. But I put him on one a day and B12. I think B12 is important. Vitamin D is essential to take. Vitamin E is good. A multivitamin. Now, I mainly take a multivitamin, and I take the liquid B12 from Walmart, and that gives you strength. So I'm still walking around. We did our walking this morning. So now I got 31 minutes. My feet really are done. This runs for 30 minutes. But I don't know that I will ever go 104 minutes. I didn't watch all of Granny Pat's and Pat's. I didn't watch it all. But see, I do like I told you. I watch it a while, and then when I get time, I can listen to it through my hearing aids, listen to her talk, and I do that sometimes so that I can get all the way through it because she's fun. She keeps me entertained. You never know what she's going to talk about next. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next anymore. Now, I have told all the miracles that has happened in my life, but the thing about it is they're still happening. When I'm here every day at 91, get out of bed, feeling good, I say, "Thank you, Jesus." And I mean it sincerely. And he knows it. Because how many 91-year-old people are driving their cars around? And this September, I got to renew my license. And I plan on doing it. Oh, I started to say potato. Tomatoes are looking so good. I got 4 plants. And God has been watering them. He watered them again yesterday, and he's going to water them again today. They say, we have had so much rain. And the sun's not even shining today. It says 68, this tells me what it says on my watch, 68 degrees and cloudy. So, and it's 10:23, Tuesday, 13th of May. Time keeps going on. And one of these days, what's going to happen? Tell you what, we just enjoy each day and have enthusiasm for life as long as you can. And I realize that some of us have bad health and we don't feel that good, but do the best you can with what you got. And I pray that you feel better and that God will touch you, that Jesus will touch you. So enjoy life the best you can every day that the Lord gives us. That's what I try to do, and I've enjoyed today already talking to y'all. God bless you, and walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. Love you. Bye-bye.